78, 79. You know by heart. 79. And interesting question here in the Shirat Hayam. Maybe encourage you also not to come only for Mincha Maariv, but also for Shachrit, because we read that every morning. So, the Shirat Hayam, the song by the sea, is basically a description. Start with the praise of God, and then we see basically how Moses and Israel are telling us what happened in Egypt and what happened on the sea. Right? Let's just give an example. It starts with, look at page 79, that Moses and Israel and the children of Israel chose to sing this song to Hashem, and they said the following: I shall sing to Hashem, for he exalted above the arrogant. God is my might and my praise. We understand that as the opening, when you start to sing, you start with praising. That's fine. And then start to describe what happened there on the Kotel. Hashem is master of war. Through his name, Hashem, he threw Pharaoh's chariot and army into the sea. The elite of his officers were mired in the sea of reeds. Deep water covered them. They descended into the depths like stone. Right? This is a description of already what's happening in the sea of reeds. Your right hand, Hashem, is adorned with strength. In your abundant grandeur, you shatter your opponents. And then go down. The enemy declared, I will pursue, will overtake. There's also a description of what the Egyptians, so to speak, said. And they wanted to conquer, and of course they couldn't. I will divide the spoils. I will satisfy my lust with them. I will this is my sword, my hand will impoverish them. Right? And then look at the next page. You blew with your wind the sea. The mighty ones sank like lead in the water. Again, still in the middle of the description of what happened. And suddenly this verse coming up. Mi chamocha ba'elim Hashem, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Who is like you among heavenly powers Hashem? Who is like you? And so to speak, why now in the middle of this declaration? In the middle of the description of what happened to the Egyptians and the chariots and the horses, suddenly who is like you among the heavenly powers? Right? Because the next verse goes back to tell us, you stretch out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. What is this description of Mi Kamocha Ba'elim Hashem? Who is like you among all the gods, among all the powers? Right? So this question was asked by the students of Baal Shem Tov. So the Baal Shem Tov told his student, one of his students, go to the little village that are outside the city and go seek for the Melamed of the children. Melamed is the teacher of young students. And this person, this Chassid, went to seek for the Melamed. He didn't know why the Baal Shem Tov sent him, the Baal Shem Tov, the master of Hasidism. And they were really learning an interesting psalm. Look at page 173. This is psalm that we recite, Psalm 104, which we recite every Rosh Chodesh. Psalm 104, Barchi Nafshi, blessed Hashem. And then again, in this psalm, King David described creation, described the beauty of nature. Right? Look at this, the beautiful, beautiful words of King David. Bless Hashem, O my soul, Hashem, my God, you are very great. You have your adorned majesty and splendor, wrapping with light and with garment. Look down, you cover the watery deep with garments. Water would stand upon the mountains. If you read this, you can look at the nature. This here in Australia, everywhere you go, you can really read this beautiful psalm. And then, again in the middle, look at this. Again, in the middle of the description of the moon and the sun. He made the moon for the festival. The sun knows its destination. One paragraph down below. How abundant are your work, Hashem. You made them all with wisdom. So the Melamed read that to the students and asked them, why again in the middle of the description of all the nature and the beauty of creation, suddenly this sentence of how greatly are how abundant your works, Hashem. And he explained to the students very simply. He said, King David himself, when he read that, when he composed this psalm, He was so excited about the nature that he described that he had to stop and declare, Ma Rabu Masech Hashem, how godly, how greatly are your creation, Hashem. And he says, the Baal Shem Tov, now the student came back to the Baal Shem Tov and said, now I understand when we read in the Shirah, we read in the Song by the Sea. You can go back to page 70, page 81. In the middle of the declaration, the middle of the description of the Song by the Sea, the people of Israel suddenly stopped and realized how great Hashem is. They had to stop everything, take a deep breath, to pause and realize how great Hashem is. And then continue to the description. That's exactly what happened to King David in Psalm 104. So when we go out, when we see what's happening outside, take a moment. Look out there and see how greatly Hashem's works out in the world, and how much we can learn from everything that is outside the shul and Bet Midrash and everything that happens in our lives.